What if one handwritten sentence from King Charles completely changed the balance of power inside the royal family? According to a dramatic palace account, concerns surrounding the king's health reportedly forced him to consider reducing his workload, placing William and Catherine at the center of an unexpected transition. But the biggest shock wasn't Charles stepping back. It was an alleged instruction concerning Camilla's household that could prevent her office from influencing William's decisions. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more royal family stories, because what supposedly happened behind palace doors became far more personal than anyone expected. For months, Charles had continued appearing publicly while carefully managing his schedule. But according to the story, preparations for an important ceremony exposed just how difficult maintaining that pace had become. During a rehearsal, Charles reportedly appeared exhausted and struggled to maintain his usual concentration. Doctors were allegedly called and advised him to dramatically reduce demanding responsibilities while focusing on recovery. That recommendation reportedly triggered an emergency palace meeting involving William, Catherine, Princess Anne, and senior advisors. William initially expected nothing more than temporary changes to a few engagements. Instead, the documents waiting inside the room allegedly proposed one of the most significant reorganizations of royal responsibilities in years. According to the account, Charles proposed giving William responsibility for important audiences, senior appointments, ceremonial planning, and broader strategic decisions. Catherine would simultaneously take on a larger public role involving diplomatic receptions, state occasions, and major ceremonial duties. Neither reportedly viewed the arrangement as a victory. William feared the public might interpret his expanded authority as impatience for the throne, while Catherine worried that suddenly appearing at the monarchy center could be mistaken for ambition. Charles allegedly rejected those concerns. He wanted responsibility transferred clearly while he could still determine how it happened. But before anything could be finalized, Princess Anne reportedly placed a second folder on the table, and its contents changed the atmosphere immediately. The second folder allegedly contained internal discussions associated with Camilla's household. According to the story, advisors had considered ways her office could maintain influence if Charles temporarily withdrew from regular duties. The proposals reportedly involved ceremonial planning, appointments, public engagements, and consultation over important palace decisions. None of the language openly challenged William. In fact, it was supposedly framed around continuity and experience. Yet one detail reportedly troubled those in the room. William's expanded authority was described as potentially temporary and reversible. That raised an uncomfortable question. If William was expected to carry the responsibility of leadership, would another royal household still be able to influence or delay the decisions he made? Camilla was reportedly invited to explain the proposals privately. According to the account, she argued that her household was preparing responsibly for uncertainty rather than attempting to preserve power. Having spent years beside Charles, she supposedly believed her office possessed experience that should not simply disappear during his recovery. She allegedly suggested an arrangement where William handled constitutional responsibilities. Catherine assumed expanded public duties, and Camilla's advisors remained involved in matters of tradition and ceremony. Catherine then reportedly asked the crucial question, what happens when William and Camilla disagree? Any arrangement requiring Charles to continually settle disputes would undermine the entire purpose of reducing the king's workload. That question reportedly brought the problem into focus. Charles could not truly step away if every disagreement eventually returned to him for resolution. According to the story, advisors warned that overlapping authority could create two competing centers of influence, one surrounding William and Catherine, and another surrounding Camilla's household. Charles allegedly rejected any arrangement that might produce what appeared to be a second royal court. Camilla reportedly left the meeting dissatisfied, but the larger issue remained unresolved. William needed enough authority to act without constant negotiation, while Charles wanted to avoid publicly humiliating his wife. Finding a solution that protected both the monarchy and the family seemed almost impossible until advisors suggested changing the document itself. The continuity order was reportedly rewritten to make responsibilities clearer. William would oversee major strategic and institutional decisions, while Catherine would manage significant ceremonial and public-facing duties. Princess Anne would remain an experienced bridge between different parts of the family, rather than competing for authority herself. Then, according to the account, Charles did something nobody expected. Instead of simply signing the revised document, he allegedly added a handwritten sentence stating that the authority granted through the order could not be challenged by the Queen's household. If true, those few words fundamentally changed the arrangement. This was no longer merely a temporary redistribution of workload. It established a clear boundary around William's decision-making authority. The handwritten nature of the alleged instruction made it especially significant within the story. Typed language could potentially be blamed on lawyers or interpreted as routine administrative wording. A sentence personally written by Charles would be much harder to dismiss. According to the account, Anne witnessed the document before it was sealed, and a copy was sent to Clarence's house. Camilla reportedly read the restriction and immediately understood what it meant. Her title, charities, staff, and personal position remained intact, but her household would allegedly have no automatic authority over decisions assigned to William and Catherine. The distinction was subtle publicly, yet behind palace doors, it represented an enormous change in influence. Buckingham Palace then reportedly prepared a carefully controlled public announcement. Charles was not abdicating, William was not becoming king, and Catherine was not becoming queen. Yet the practical responsibilities described in the story were clearly shifting. Charles allegedly insisted on explaining the decision personally because he did not want William accused of forcing the transition. During the proposed address, he would explain that recovery required him to reduce his workload, while William assumed greater responsibility and Catherine supported the monarchy's major public functions. Camilla, however, reportedly chose not to participate in the presentation after learning that she would have no decision-making role in the new arrangement. According to the story, the strongest public image came afterward. William and Catherine appeared together beneath the royal insignia, while Charles withdrew from the ceremonial moment. Nothing represented a coronation or formal succession, yet the symbolism was impossible to ignore. Britain was allegedly being shown who would carry much of the monarchy's visible burden during Charles's reduced schedule. Questions immediately surrounded Camilla's absence. Her title had not changed, but the story suggests her institutional influence had been dramatically narrowed. Meanwhile, William reportedly promised Charles that the transition would never become a public campaign against Camilla. She would continue receiving dignity and respect, but private pressure would not be allowed to undermine decisions already assigned elsewhere. Behind closed doors, the account portrays Charles's decision as deeply personal rather than triumphant. He had reportedly spent years trying to balance marriage, family loyalty, and the demands of the crown. Now his health had allegedly forced him to establish boundaries he previously preferred to leave flexible. William gradually understood that the controversial restriction was not necessarily written to punish Camilla. It was intended to prevent Charles from stepping back publicly while remaining trapped in endless private disputes. Catherine reportedly recognized another consequence. Clearer authority protected them from accusations that they were simply taking power for themselves. Charles had made the decision, signed it, and accepted responsibility for whatever family tension followed. But according to the story, one final document suggested the drama was far from finished. Princess Anne reportedly produced another sealed folder dealing with household privileges, staff access, ceremonial invitations, and royal residences during the transition. The most surprising page allegedly contained a deadline connected to Camilla's unrestricted palace access, something even William had apparently not expected. Whether these dramatic claims ultimately withstand verification remains an important question, but they leave a fascinating royal mystery. What do you think? Should William and Catherine receive greater responsibility whenever Charles needs to step back? Comment your opinion below and subscribe to the channel for more royal family stories, mysteries, and updates.